In this week's economic news, Donald Trump wants to fire a Federal Reserve governor, Lisa Cook. Now, Lisa Cook was appointed under Biden for a 14-year term. Now, Donald Trump wants to fire Lisa Cook due to allegations. Now, the allegations have to do with two mortgage applications that she filed. She lied, apparently or allegedly, on these applications, which, of course, would be concerning because she's part of the Federal Reserve, which controls monetary policy in the United States. So can Trump actually do this? That's what I want to discuss here today. Now, of course, this is kind of bordering on legality as opposed to finance and economics, but it has to do with the Federal Reserve. And the decision is going to be important, or the final result is going to be important because right now the Federal Reserve is very much separated from the executive branch or the president. So let's talk about it. As always, my name is Derek. I got my degree in finance. You don't have to. So first and foremost, the Federal Reserve is what's known as a hybrid institution. It's sort of kind of public. It's sort of kind of private. A lot of people confuse it and say that it is a private institution. It's not. The part of it that's private is the fact of the matter, or the fact that member banks have to hold reserves in the Federal Reserve, and they receive a small dividend, I believe it's 6% per year, to compensate for that above inflation. Other than that, though, the Federal Reserve is a public entity. It is what would be considered a government. It is I guess I would say it is an independent governmental organization. That is the best way to describe it. As in, it still reports to the government. In fact, it reports to Congress. It was created through an act of Congress, the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. And this is the key that a lot of people need to understand. If it were a private company, it would retain its profits and it would give those profits to its investors, okay, or its owners. What actually happens is any profits above the dividend as well as operating costs are sent where? They're sent to the U.S. Treasury. It was created by an act of Congress. Profits are sent to the U.S. Treasury. It reports to Congress. And the President of the United States can make recommendations for appointments for the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, as well as the chair. Okay, so it is still a governmental organization. It just operates independently of the executive branch or usually Congress. Why? Well, because the entire point of the Federal Reserve is to separate monetary policy from politics, which if you study or you follow finance and economics, you know that's a very good thing because there are plenty of examples through history of what happens inflation-wise when you allow control of the monetary supply when it comes to politics. I mean, interest rates are lowered anytime there's an election cycle. They print their way out of debt, causes massive inflation. It's just not good. Okay, so it's a good thing that it's separate. Okay, now we can get to the main issue. Okay, Donald Trump says he's going to fire Lisa Cook. First and foremost, the only reason a president can fire a Federal Reserve governor, same thing when he threatened to fire Jerome Powell, is for cause. Okay? Now, this hasn't really gone through the courts ever, so we're not really sure what cause means, but it seems to be a gross neglect of duty. Okay? Now, the Federal Reserve has two main duties, that is, or dual mandate. That is maximum employment and price stability. So basically, it is interpreted that, let's say Jerome Powell just decided to raise interest rates to 20%, and the entire Board of Governors agreed. In that instance, maybe that is gross neglect or cause, because why would he be doing that when pretty much all the economists, everybody knows that if anything, we should slowly lower interest rates, right? So it needs to be cause. Okay, now in the case of Lisa Cook, the reason is, or at least the alleged reason, is that she lied on two mortgage applications. Now, if you ask me, in the pursuit of fairness, I do agree with Trump that if a Federal Reserve governor purposely and knowingly lied on two separate mortgage applications, that is troubling, cause for concern, and potentially could be considered cause for firing, because this is someone who is indirect control of the money supply, along with the other governors and the chair of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. Okay, but if Trump is going to do this, it has to be done legally. First, that cause or that reason has to be proven, most likely in court. And then the removal needs to happen in court. Now, a lot of people are saying that really the reason why Trump wants her gone is, of course, because she has been supportive of the overall Fed policy, which is to keep interest rates where they are. Now, it's very likely that in September, unless the PCE inflation report, which I just made a video on, unless the PCE inflation report just comes out horrible, it's very likely that in September they're going to cut rates. But in my opinion, this is probably politically motivated, right? Trump does not like the fact that the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates where they are for so long. He wants lower interest rates because lower interest rates across the board are basically good for politics because the economy usually booms at the expense of inflation. Trump also has threatened multiple times to fire Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell said he would not step down, and Trump does not have the authority to do so. Lisa Cook has taken a similar stance. She says that she will not be resigning, that she intends to finish her term, and that Trump does not have the legal authority to remove her. This is likely going to end up in court. And if I had to be a betting man in this situation, the court is probably going to side with her and with Jerome Powell when it comes to these issues, that Trump can only remove a governor or chair for cause. With that said, again, in the pursuit of fairness, I do think that if it is proven that she knowingly lied on 2 separate mortgage applications, if that is proven in court beyond a reasonable doubt, I do think that that is probably cause for her termination, because these people, while maybe that's not some, it's not murder, right? It's not some insane crime. These people are in charge. They are in charge of monetary policy. So when it comes to financial aspects, they do need to be pretty squeaky clean if we're going to keep the Federal Reserve in good standing with a good reputation when it comes to the general populace. Because yes, there are pockets here that don't like the Federal Reserve, but on average, I think the Federal Reserve is held to a high degree of reputation, and I think most people like the Federal Reserve and what they do. I mean, I have been both positive and critical of the Federal Reserve, but really my main criticism is that usually they are behind the 8 ball because they follow data and they have to wait for these reports, and sometimes that leads to them lagging what's actually going on in the economy. But other than that, they do tend, and we're talking over multiple chairs, over multiple economic cycles, they do tend to follow the data, and because they are politically removed, they tend to basically just look at the inflation data and look at the jobs data and make their policy changes because of that. And so far, it has at least helped to stabilize this ridiculous house of card economy that we are living through. So we'll have to wait and see. Without risking dragging this video out for no reason or making it too long, that's all I have for you here today. If this was informative, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out tremendously. It's difficult to grow on YouTube, you know? Coming from a relatively successful business career online, I run my own business online. YouTube has been a very tough thing to do, a very tough learning curve, but I love sharing this with you guys. So it means the world. Every subscription means the world to me, and it helps the channel out tremendously, and it's absolutely free for you. So please consider doing so. With that said, weekly videos on here. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, sometimes more than weekly, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.